But I'll tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to politicise this because
I think that's right. It's
and I think we both don't want to.
No.
It has been done to death, and as you said, people expect better of our elected representatives, and people expect better of the media parroting some of that narrative
100%.
that has been made by certain people with political agendas. So, but I want to sit here as somebody who has put my hand up as a Conservative in the Liberal Party to go into federal parliament after having worked there for the best part of a decade and a half. And that should say to young girls, don't be deterred. It is a privilege and an honour. Of course, Parliament, I feel, is just catching up to where perhaps corporate Australia was sort of 10 years ago. And I worked in some really bad places in corporate Australia, and they were major firms 20 years ago when I was an 18-year-old, and some pretty bad stuff was within my orbit that wouldn't ever be tolerated now. And these are perhaps some of the same things that I'm seeing written in this report, which of course was contributed to by staff of all political persuasion.
This is not just painting, this is not painting colours.
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. But I think anybody who works in corporate Australia sort of 10, 15 years ago can probably read some of these things and think, oh, yeah, that resonates with me a decade ago. But the one thing I will say is that I have always said the government of the day cannot sack a sitting MP if that sitting MP has been found to have allegations made against it, which in a normal course of events would see that person get the sack. So in corporate Australia, things can run a process, there is a legal process, and that person gets the sack. We have this really weird grey area in federal parliament where staff are employed by the Department of Finance, but they're employed under a separate act from the public servants that are also employed by the Department of Finance.
And that's just an example.
And that's just an example. And so what's glaringly obvious is there's no independent human resources because it is run by the Department of Finance. And now we know that bureaucrats of the day have a vested interest in working with the government of the day, and there's that political segregation, but also that integration.
And it's kind of like that grey area.
So it's not necessarily independent. And what I was really heartened to see is that one of those 28 recommendations was an independent office of staffing. And I think it's a good idea if that is not administered or appointed by government of the day, completely independent appointees to that, and perhaps people in the legal profession can appoint those representatives who adjudicate in those human resources and those industrial relations issues around the office of staffing, because staff do need somewhere to go.
Absolutely.
The Department of Finance, it's out the door, it's down the road, you have to get in an Uber to go there.
And they're hard to get in Canberra.
Exactly. So it's not really accessible, is it, if you really want somewhere independent to go.
Exactly.